then $15, then $18, then it broke 20, and on February 25th, 2008, hard red spring futures settled at $25 per bushel. This is completely beyond the pale.
Completely beyond the pale. Real conspiracies surround our lives all around. The food bubble, how Wall Street starved millions and got away with it. Now, of course, Goldman being the main boogeyman that's going on right now, but Frederick Kaufman does correctly say that it's not just them, it's all of them. And, of course, Goldman, biggest donor to Obama-Messiah, as we noted back during campaign time, back in 2007 and 8 on MediaMonarchy.com. But they never quite trace it back to the main big boys. They never trace it back to the Rockefeller, the Rothschilds, the names, the families, the multi-generational serial killers. So the food bubble was the first story on the latest episode of The New World Next Week. And the way we closed out the episode previous to that, got a lot of conversation going in the comments section, as well as on my own Facebook.com/MediaMonarchy. And I think it shows, again, how important these issues are. We've noted before that it may not be possible to end the war in Iraq or end the war in Iraq. But we do have some kind of say in what we put down our gullet. And I think that's only going to make foodworldorder.com that much more important. And again, thanks to folks who send news tips. I think you'll find 9 times out of 10 they usually make their way onto the site and show. So again, don't hesitate. Send me news tips, links, MediaMonarchy@gmail.com. And I can't respond to everything, but again, it's all completely appreciated. 46,000 dairy farms closed down in the last 10 years. And as you might recall, we ran out of time last week and weren't able to go over all the other alternative news that we're going to go over in this B-side. So now we're digging back in a week or so ago on foodworldorder.com from AllGov. 46,000 dairy farms closed in the last 10 years. Times are especially bad for dairy farmers across the U.S. About 40% of all dairy farms, or 46,000, went out of business over the last decade due to falling milk prices and rising costs. A big problem resides in the Federal Milk Marketing Order, FMMO system, which the U.S. government created during the Depression as a way to keep dairy farmers in business. Today, however, the FMMO system has become a weapon used by huge dairy companies to accomplish what some nefarious goal, paying farmers. That's a garbled sentence. Let's start that again. Today, however, the FMMO system has become a weapon used by huge dairy companies to accomplish that same nefarious goal, paying farmers as little as possible. This sourcing back to gracelinks.org, writing for the Grace Foundation. There's more links you can read about the FMMO and ecocentrism.org, allgov.com, and let's keep digging. From the Telegraph, mystery trader buys all Europe's cocoa. Even Willy Wonka might struggle to use this much chocolate. Somebody bought 241,000 tons of cocoa beans. The purchase was enough to move the entire global cocoa markets, sending the price to the highest level since 1977 and triggering rumors and intrigue in the city. That would be the City of London, the world's money central, in its own little standalone city-state, much like the District of Columbia is perhaps the military center, and Vatican City being the religious center. And again, those families, bloodlines, organizations, societies, roundtables, serial killers, they'll get you with one of those things. It's unclear which person or group of traders was behind the deal, but it was the largest single cocoa trade for 14 years. The cocoa beans, which are sitting in warehouses in either the Netherlands, Hamburg, or close to home in London, Liverpool, or Humberside, is equivalent to the entire supply of the commodity in Europe and would fill more than 5 Titanics. That's a telling metaphor. They're worth £658 million. That's UK pounds. But we do have the update. UK financier Anthony Ward behind the $658 million cocoa trade. What does this all mean? I can't exactly say. Had it remained secret, it would perhaps all be that much more tantalizing, but it just shows you nakedly, all out in front, the moves that are going on with the elite. Again, they've meant to pull a controlled demolition, but now it's perhaps getting out of their own hands. And we're going to see that theme and meme run throughout today's episodes, as we do and have from week to week. Moving the deck chairs and rats jumping ships. But from one of the great news sites, of which there are tons, it's hard to keep up with all the amazing new alternative media outlets, activistpost.com has a great one on using local organic cooperatives to defeat globalists. You're not alone in wondering what's the best way to fight against all this. Call it globalism, call it Fabian socialism, fascism, New World Order, whatever you want to call it. There's a vastly growing human tribe that understands your frustrations of feeling like a helpless fly caught in an inescapable spider web. It can seem defeating the more we learn about the criminal nature of the ruling elite, their plans, their desires to have absolute control, and their infrastructure that's darn near complete to achieve their goals. However, there is an incredibly easy solution and powerful weapon for defeating the elite. It's called local food. That article goes into great detail. We just have the snippet for you to whet your appetite, if you will. But a nice way to follow that up is from Food Freedom, 10 mistakes to avoid at the farmer's market. And again, hopefully we're going to see these things become more and more of a reality. And hopefully that's a way. Take your money out of the banks and start spending it locally. And the last thing on this, using local organic co-ops to defeat globalists, we have a quick update on gmwatch.org. Bayer loses their 5th straight trial. We also know from STLtoday.com, rice farmer is awarded $500,000 in case over crop contamination, and that again concerns Bayer crop science. But on the quick 722 binge and purge, short and sour, we note disgustingly enough from foodsafetynews.com that it's safer to eat off a toilet seat than an office desk. And you can read all the disgusting facts on there. We also have, over on Yahoo, eat this, 6 beverage industry secrets they don't want you to know. And they do, fortunately, mention things like BPA and some of the other things going on in your beverages. So again, a lot of this stuff is coming out, as things pretty much have to do, in a way. Revelation of the method, if you will. I think the important thing to remember in all these developments is that whether we're talking about food or media or politics or any of these things, and you can draw analogies between them all, is that you'll see when people naturally want to go grassroots and get outside, you're going to see those same organizations offer you another alternative. So just when you think you're getting out of it, you're stepping into another pre-constructed box, and that's what we're trying to all learn here and tell each other, hey, don't step there.